Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you how Colin Kaepernick might have just found a real path back to the NFL.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why I have reason to believe LeBron James might not end up on any team next year. Speak for yourself starts now.
Can't wait to hear this. Can't wait to hear
Michael
this.
Jordan left in his prime for minor league baseball. That was crazy.
Hello and welcome. We're joined today by NBA champion Dante Jones and the founder of the Big League, Jason McIntyre. Let's start in Philadelphia, where the 76ers general manager, Bryan Colangelo, has some explaining to do after the Ringer dropped a shocking story that's been months in the making, accusing Colangelo of using burner accounts to Twitter vent his anger at just about everyone, including his own players, taking Joel Embiid to task for his ego and blaming Markelle Fultz, his mentor, for ruining his shot, among other things. Colangelo also allegedly used the platform to say nice things about himself, as well as attack former Sixers general manager Sam Hinkie and current Raptors GM Masai Ujiri. The team is investigating the allegations, which Colangelo has denied, saying, quote, "Like many of my colleagues in sports, I have used social media as a means to keep up with the news. While I have never posted anything whatsoever on social media, I have used @Phila123456 Twitter account referenced in the story to monitor our industry and other current events. This storyline is disturbing to me on many levels, as I am not familiar with any of the other accounts that have been brought to my attention, nor do I know who is behind them or what their motives may be in using them." All right, Cowherd, should the Sixers fire Colangelo?
Well, if you read the story, it looks like it's him. So based on that, I'd move off Bryan Colangelo. It looks juvenile. It looks petty. It looks unstable. This is not what grown-ups do. Twitter's a loaded gun, okay? And we judge people based on how they use the loaded gun. This is crazy. This is immature. This is the face of my franchise. LeBron's available on the free agent market. What's LeBron think of this? What do stars think of this? It comes across as unstable, doesn't it?
Face of the franchise is Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, but you're right in terms of impact it could have on other free agents or whatever, just the perception of him around the league. I don't think it's a fireable offense, and I say that because I think we're only scratching the surface of the kind of manipulation and fraudulent behavior that's going on with social media. Today we read this story and go, oh my God, I can't believe it. If we ever get to what's really going on in social media, this is a misdemeanor at best. And so I wouldn't fire him over this. What's going to get him fired, though, is I think when he gets caught in a lie. I've got nothing to do with these other accounts. When they went in the story, and I'm beautifully written and a great piece of journalism here by The Ringer and Ben Dietrich, but the smoking gun to me is there were three other, they asked him about two accounts, there were three other they held back, and they all went dark within hours of the Ringer calling and questioning him about him. So I do think he has some connection to them. And so I think the cover-up will cost him more so than the crimes.
This is different, and it was shocking this morning when I read this and I read that article, which was beautifully written. But as the leader of the franchise and the one responsible for decisions and the gatekeeper of a lot of secrets and a lot of information for your franchise, the perception is bad. And there's too many facts that lead to this being him and looks like it's being him. And it's too much going on for an organization that's trending upwards and is in a good place right now. I think this is if it's found out to be him, it's a fireable offense, and you move on and you get a leader that guys can trust in free agency and they can look to and say, you know what, they're going to take our franchise in the right direction. It's going to be a true leader rather than just be caught up in social media and caught up in minor games that are being played.
The point that's interesting is even if it's not him, then it's somebody that he's been feeding information to for a while, right? He's been telling them about player injuries and potential trades and taking shots at players. This is almost LeVar Lonzo-ish. Some of the stuff LeVar Ball says, wow, does Lonzo really think that? Whoever's putting these tweets out there, you got to look back at Colangelo and be like, geez, he must think some of this stuff. So I would side with you, Cowherd. I think you've got to get rid of him. I think it's got to be quick. Like you said, Dante, this is a pivotal summer for the franchise. You're looking at potentially adding LeBron, maybe Kawhi Leonard's out there. You could be looking at a potential dynasty, and everybody looks at this and be like, do I want to get near that mess? That's just too toxic of a situation.
Everybody loves this process, but they've whiffed on Okafor, Nerlens Noel, Markelle Fultz could be a whiff. We have a rebuilding process in Boston, never whiffed on a draft pick. Their GM doesn't have burner accounts. They have the
That
better,
we know of.
They've got the better coach. What I think, when you juxtapose the Sixers, who everybody's fallen in love with, it's analytical, and then you look at the Celtics rebuild, which has been quiet and cerebral. It makes me think, once again, the process has a catchy nickname, but it's got all sorts of holes in it.
I agree with you there. I'll just say again, Colangelo, clumsy, looks foolish. His way of going about manipulating the social media, I'm sure other GMs and other executives are laughing like, this clown, this amateur. We can show you how to really manipulate it in a way that will never come back and burn you. And that's, again, why I say the cover-up is going to get him, or the denial that he had anything to do with this, I think it's going to get him. And what you guys said, he has damaged his credibility and the credibility of the franchise, but I'm telling you, he's barely scratched the surface of what's going on pervasively throughout all the media, all of celebrity. Everybody has gone into this fake Twitter world and social media world, and people with money and means are manipulating the truth and the perception of them and the perception of others constantly, and they're paying for it. I mean, they're paying real cash to have it done.
But it still comes down to a culpability of a franchise-running GM to be able to see it. Because if you, as a sports writer, could see it, and I can see it as a sportscaster that it's a manipulative world, you got to be able to stay away from the loaded gun. That's why I don't go home, drink cocktails, get in my pajamas, and tweet. It's nothing but trouble.
You're not doing that?
You can get yourself fired. You can't get a raise on Twitter.
At Buffalo Wild Wings, we'll admit that we often go overboard with our limited time offerings. We just can't help ourselves. Take our new signature sampler. For $15, you get wings and 3 shareable options like fried pickles or cheese curds. Then there's our aptly named over-the-top nachos, a literal mountain of crispy tortilla chips loaded with your choice of pulled pork or honey barbecue grilled chicken, corn, jalapenos, and more. Then top it all off with our new platinum margarita. Go overboard with us today at Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Available for a limited time while supplies last. Please drink responsibly.
Now, Joel Embiid was repeatedly targeted by the accounts in question. And the young star addressed the accusations today, saying, quote, I talked to Bryan Colangelo. He said he didn't say that. He called me just to deny the story. Got to believe him until proven otherwise. If true, though, that would really be bad. Whitlock, should Sixer players be angry about this?
No, because we must remember the NBA is utopia. There's nothing ever bad happens in the NBA. This is the most beautiful place in the world. Everybody just grabs each other's hands and sings Kumbaya. It is utopia. We got to remember the media has told us this. Now, if this were the NFL, and this was an NFL executive attacking black players and the general manager in Toronto, of course, this would be a shining example of racism and how terrible the NFL is. But since it's the NBA, nothing to see here. And Joel Embiid should probably send this man a brand new car or something to thank him for doing it.
Now, first of all, I don't think actually,
That's about as
I don't
passive
think
aggressive as he
players
speaks.
should worry about this. This is different. Okay, I'll just personalize it. When I come to my show, if my boss was subtweeting, I got a show to fill. Go play. A player's job is to play. What do we always say? GMs, GM, coaches, coach, players play, refs, ref. You know, the NBA is the only league that's built on worship. The AAU coach recruits you. Gear, please come play. The college coach, please stay for a second year, I know you're leaving. The NBA coach, well, it's a players' league, you can fire me. There's no other sport in America where players constantly, on virtually every call, complain to the ref. Baseball players get thrown out for arguing a called third strike. NFL, they'll throw a flag. Listen, NBA players, you can be a little needy. Play the game. You can't let this You cannot let this.
On a serious note for me,
time out.
he's criticizing, he's putting out information about injuries. He's
Thank you.
really
Who
questioning.
doesn't-
He
doesn't
has
know,
the-
though?
Joel Embiid for going to a concert and dancing on stage. He didn't approach him man to man, be like, hey, man, you've been injured a lot. What's that about? He took shots at him on social media. You don't think that's wrong? You don't think that's wrong to say, oh, Joel Embiid's not the future of our franchise. He's going after Rihanna on social media. Ben Simmons, that's our guy. You know, that to me, that speaks volumes about the president of your franchise. He's too insecure to approach the star
should
about him.
players worry about that?
Yeah, if the guy doesn't have your back, but he's blasting you online, how is that a good thing?
You interact with him. He's a part of the organization as you are. Great organizations and championship organizations, everybody plays their part, but they're a unit. Like the guy who's making decisions with the coaching staff and the players, they all interact, they all talk, they all communicate. So if somebody who's the gatekeeper of all your secrets or has an opinion that he's not sharing with you, communication is a big part of being a great organization.
LeBron.
And if he's not, he feels a certain way about you and he's not sharing with you and is speaking to someone else about it or speaking to the public about it behind your back, that's wrong. That's
way,
something
what if that were
you would not want
I
to.
work in the media.
If your boss came and said something to you and said, you know what, I'm proud of you, what you're doing on the court, but then goes and tweets about your show behind your back and to the world. But what he said to you wasn't the same thing. You would feel some type of way. You wouldn't be like, oh, okay, I should just sit back in my chair and do my job.
People backstabbed me for 30 years.
But not your boss. He has a responsibility. He has a responsibility to lead.
No, wrong. I go into negotiations. My boss tells my agent, he's not worth that. My agent says he is worth that. It's a constant struggle in our business to validate your talent.
But that's in private. In private, they have that conversation.
gets-
If they had it across
Gets
Twitter.
printed all the time.
I can handle this. Because I've had bosses backstab me privately, publicly, every kind of way you can possibly do it. And this is why I say this guy's only scratched the surface. Almost everything you read now has been bought and paid for. And I've had hit pieces bought and paid for on me by my boss. And so this will not sit well with the players. When you start leaking Okafor is injured and trying to bait reporters into asking Okafor, did you fail the physical? Is that why the trade didn't go through? Or trying to bait the media into asking other questions that would be embarrassing or uncomfortable for the players. A line of trust has been crossed. And so it's hard to go back over that line. It'll be hard for players to get beyond that because you can't have a private conversation with Colangelo because, you know, he's a guy that you can't be trusted in a private conversation.
That's a great point. Let me ask you, is this all that different from Dan Gilbert writing a letter, putting his name on it in Comic Sans about LeBron James? LeBron James still came back to Cleveland. He doesn't have a good relationship with Mr. Gilbert.
What Dan Gilbert did is far more authentic,
Exactly,
honest,
yes, that's what I'm saying.
easier
Yeah,
for me
that's
to
what
get
I'm saying.
over. He put his name on it, put it out there for everybody to see. He's owned it. This is a little sneaky guy behind his back. And again, that's why I've dealt with this, where people are saying one thing to you in private and then doing something completely different behind your
listen,
back.
Phil Jackson ripped Kobe in a book, and they worked it out.
Put his name on it.
Okay, it doesn't matter if you were married and your wife, you either found out she was cheating and she told you, or you found out and she didn't tell you. Doesn't change the act.
Yeah,
I would have more respect for her. I would have
Yeah,
more
more
respect.
respect for her. You still wouldn't want to be with her.
Changes the reaction.
but
There's a
respect.
lot of marriages that survive infidelity, Colin. Let's don't be kids here. Almost every marriage damn near survives infidelity.
Welcome back, Dante Jones. Back joining us now, Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Let's move to the NBA Finals, where LeBron is about to face off with the Warriors yet again, but people seem just as interested in speculating about where he's going to end up next year. A lot of teams are floating out there, but I've got a source that says LeBron's group believes there is no perfect option for him, including Cleveland with bad contracts. Got me thinking that if he gets rolled in the finals, and he will, I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron actually chose to sit out next season. Michael Jordan retired twice. Phil Jackson left and came back, perusing the best options. Whitlock, you think there's any chance I'm right?
Any chance? Yes, I do think there's a chance. I think there's a 15% chance you're right. And I say that because I've seen crazier things happen. Michael Jordan sat out for a year and a half, was going to sit out 2.
For baseball.
To play baseball. And so when I start thinking about, has LeBron laid the foundation to where he could do this without taking a lot of heat? Yeah, because he just put together an 82-game regular season.
Thank you.
He played all those minutes. He played at the highest level he's ever played
Was
at.
great in Game 7s.
And so clutch now is off the table. So if he were ever going to pivot and say, I'm going to take a beat to deal with my kids and family or whatever, this would be the time. So I say there's a 15%
He's
chance.
never talked about fatigue, ever. That's been off the table with LeBron. He's Superman.
He's talked about fatigue.
He publicly now.
He said, I'm tired.
No, this
Nobody's
year.
more tired
No, I'm saying
than me.
this year, he is talking about fatigue constantly.
Laying the
It's
foundation.
out there.
I don't like it one bit because this is not Michael Jordan going out on top saying, I have nothing more to prove in basketball. This, according to your theory, is LeBron James saying there's no perfect fit. I can't get on a team that can compete with Golden State, so I'm leaving. That's not retiring, that's quitting because I can't beat the best team. And if you have designs on being the best player ever or the best player in the world, you don't walk away like that.
That's called a sabbatical.
No, it's a sabbatical, like you said, if you just want to spend time with family. But if it's that perfect option, the best player ever doesn't need the perfect situation.
And the second-
if you're the best, get over the hump
By the
some
way, the second best player doesn't need to join a dynasty in the Warriors. But that's what's happening in the league now.
This
It's a
would
player.
be quitting. This wouldn't, and I don't think LeBron would do it, but this would be quitting. This wouldn't be retiring.
Is it worse than KD to the
'Cause I can't
Warriors?
win.
Is it worse than KD?
And we-
KD's not the best player.
Exactly.
He's the second
KD's
best
not
player.
conversation.
He's the
not
third.
even
He's the
GOAT
third
conversation.
best player. Yes, Kawhi Leonard is better than him. However, let's throw this one out the window. Please not discuss this ever again. Like this is kind of disrespectful to the man that he is and the talent that he is, the competitor that he is, to be able to say that he's going to sit and at the top of his game, he's going to sit and take a year off because I can't find the right situation. Let's say he even had that thought process.
Jordan did it twice.
But Jordan
but
left
Jordan,
on top.
but listen, and there's conspiracy theories out there.
LeBron's not on top?
No, is he going to win the championship?
No. Jordan did it, and there's conspiracy theories that make sense in some capacity
haven't heard
of
him.
why he left, and why he had to leave.
And those-
that's a different
But
story.
those theories never hurt his legacy, ever.
That's fine, but he could technically still make $35 million and say I'm hurt. And sit down on a team and say I'm hurt if it doesn't fit the right
That would
situation.
be quitting.
Time out. He
yeah.
could say I'm hurt, but sit at home for a year. That man cannot sit at home. He can barely take 2 weeks off from basketball. So
that's
sit at
what-
home. It would
but
drive
that
him
would be
crazy.
lying.
He
And
doesn't have
LeBron-
another sport to go to.
That would be lying for LeBron to say, I'm hurt. But for LeBron to say, I'm exhausted. I just got to my 8th final.
Then take off preseason. Don't play preseason because I've been in 8
There's
finals.
8 preseason games.
But-
That's not taking.
But at this point in time, taking a year off at this stage in your life is harder than playing.
Here's the thing, too. Look, whenever you retire, whenever LeBron retires, if it's 5 years from now, whatever, he's still going to be a young man. You need to exhaust your window you have to play professional sports and play. You don't think Michael Jordan wishes he hadn't taken off 94 and 95?
Not so sure.
The conspiracy theories aside, you don't think he wishes he hadn't retired after that lockout in 99? Especially with everybody saying LeBron's going to get him, LeBron's going to. I guarantee you Michael Jordan wishes he had
There are
those
options
years
for
back.
LeBron to repeat the same thing he did in Miami and make a team like he did in Miami. It's not that far-fetched to say that you could construct another team around him at this point in time in his career. It's not in a situation where of dire strengths. Even if you go in Chris Broussard lane and be like, you know what, we're going to Philly, you can make that work and you can compete at a high level. You'll be a top 4 team and you still got the best player in the game. You could go to the West Coast of LA and create a team and make something work.
100% with Colin. I'm only 15%.
Okay,
And
I
here's
take that.
why I'm at this 15%, why I think there
Anything
may
can
be
happen.
kernel truth with what Colin's saying. The man really only has, because he's going to continue to play basketball. None of us think he can retire and be done.
Yeah, I'm not saying
He's
that.
only got a small window where he could really devote himself to his young sons. And if the man stood up and said, you know what, guys, I want to take a year for my family, really be involved with my boys year round, I don't think anybody, that wouldn't be quitting.
That's
That
different.
would be the modern athlete who makes enough money, a bunch of different places, that they can do that for their family and could set a whole new.
That's different. I think
that's a different
everybody would
stage in
respect
life.
that. But
Okay.
you saying he would basically quit because there's no perfect option.
Well, what I'm saying is, if he said the branding of it was what Jason said, and half of it was what I'm saying, what's the difference?
I agree.
You just said he wouldn't lie.
That's a competitor. He's
Well,
a
it's not a
competitor.
lie. There's no perfect option, and so if I'm sitting here weighing what I'm going to do the next year,
That's from a media perspective. That's not from a competitor's perspective. A competitor always thinks they have a chance.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what
Y'all
So-
saying he's not a competitor.
So
if
from you guys who don't compete on a daily basis, at a game, you guys are not playing a game, so you don't think that you're
there's
the
no competition between us.
there's no strife in thinking that I can always win. Michael Jordan was great because he wanted to win at everything. So as a competitor, and LeBron is a competitor, to give up and say I'm not going to compete.
LeBron is a businessman.
He's a
He is-
competitor.
So
but
playing
a competitor
at
first.
business hurt his
Businessman
business?
does what's best for business.
But
I
playing
think
next
that's
year
wrong.
hurts his
I
business?
think that's wrong. I think more than a businessman, and Chris, LeBron leads with his heart, man. That's why he went back to Akron.
Yes,
and
I
that's
agree
why
with
he
that.
spends all that money, invests in Akron.
He's a heart
the guy
guy.
leads with his heart. He's very sensitive and not in a negative way. He comes from a good place.
Good human.
Even the things I disagree with him on, his intentions are
Yes,
good.
yes.
And so I can see that man looking at his sons and looking at this career he's built and 8 straight finals, and he's played on national teams. And it's like, man, I could take a little window here and really get into my boys year round. And there is no perfect situation for me here in basketball. And so there may be a
got a team to do
perfect
that for.
option for me here at home.
By the way,
that's
I am, you've worked with me enough.
Yeah.
I'm a driven guy. Why did I leave a company? I left a company because I'm like, ceiling, hit it. New company. It's a business decision. You're a player. LeBron's a businessman. I'm a businessman
No,
who
you
didn't
broadcast.
take a year
No, LeBron
off.
is
No.
I mean,
LeBron
you
is
No,
a
but I
athlete
left. I left
first.
a huge offer. Why? Because I took 6 weeks off. I was a year out. I was negotiating with here. Why?
But
Because it was a business
it's
decision.
also
He's an
not
athlete
sports.
first,
Exactly.
a businessman second.
I'm a broadcaster first and a businessman second. But there are times when business supersedes broadcasting.
You wouldn't look differently at LeBron James if he's
I would
thinking,
destroy him.
I
can't-
wouldn't.
I just can't beat Golden State. No matter who I join, no matter how good the players are, I can't beat Golden State. So let me just take my ball and go home and quit.
No,
Come on.
I would not think less of him.
That's not a competitor.
I don't think that's the
I
story
like your
he's gonna
theory.
put
I
out.
like yours.
Yeah,
I don't like. There's no perfect option.
don't like my
No, I
theory.
mean, I'm
But
just
even
saying,
even in his
the best
rationale,
person-
if I want to spend time with my boys, I can go to a city where I can spend a year-round commitment with my boys. Like where they can compete.
Oh,
and
where I can have to
Time out.
move them to another school system again. Really?
Kids move school systems all the time.
That's easy
All
for
the
you to
time.
say, but
I
this-
got kids.
I know
I
you
have
got
kids in school, and they've moved school system, and they've become happier with the new school. Like we don't know where his kids are happiest at. We don't know if they're happy in Cleveland. We don't know if they're happy in LA. He lives in LA part time. We don't
I
know
think
where his
wife-
family is.
From what I
Mike-
see, his wife's happiest at Akron.
By the way, Jordan said, I have nothing more to prove in basketball.
He didn't.
What's LeBron got to prove?
Win more championships.
Right, there's more championships to get.
We gotta go. We can do more on
You know,
this
for a
topic. It was very
crazy
good.
theory, this filled 15 minutes.
Let me tell you what was crazy. The theory was crazy. But you analogizing yourself to LeBron James is even crazy.
I did not.
Coming up in the 30s.
You said you're the GOAT.
We're joined by Jason McIntyre and Super Bowl champion Greg Jennings. Let's move to President Trump, who's been taking credit for the NFL's recent decision to change its national anthem policy. And according to the Wall Street Journal, he may have a point. In sworn depositions given during the collusion grievance filed by Colin Kaepernick, several owners, including Jerry Jones, Bob McNair, and Stephen Ross, acknowledged that the president's comments on the anthem protest last year had a major influence on how they chose to deal with the issue. Cowherd, are you okay with owners caving to pressure from President Trump?
Yeah. Well, why is Facebook changing their privacy policy? Because they're caving to public pressure. Trump created public pressure. Companies change their policies all the time based on, we have legal sports gambling in America. We got networks now creating all new gambling shows they didn't a month ago. Oh, legislation changed. The president, like it or not, that's a bully pulpit. That's the most powerful position in America. And if he goes strongly aligning with you or he's negatively defining you, sometimes you have to make moves. It's the way the world works.
I completely agree with that they should have caved to that public pressure, and I don't care who created it. They needed to do something about their policy because they need to stop this protesting from overtaking the game of football and just conducting business. The other thing I think they're smartly doing here, I got to give them credit, I think that Wall Street Journal points a finger to the players, blame President Trump, not us. It's not the NFL owners that installed this policy. It's President Trump. Be mad at him, and President Trump actually will welcome that. If I'm the bad guy on this and I force these guys to do the right thing in his mind, he'll take credit for that. I think it's a smart move by the NFL to point the blame, make Trump the scapegoat, but I also don't blame him for taking the advice.
I'm completely just disturbed by the whole ordeal. Simply, I don't think that the owner should have caved, because if I'm a player, that lets me know how you really feel about me. Who's most important? I'm the commodity, but who really is important is the fan base, the viewers, the spectators. Yeah, but I'm in-house.
You know this suit that you're wearing is paid for by the fans.
No, this
fans-
suit is paid for by my hard work.
By the fans.
No, by
no
my
fans,
by
no
my
suits.
hard work. No.
No fans, no suits. No big house in Minneapolis.
I understand all of that. But my point is, with the owners caving to what Trump did, all it did was literally divide the league even more. I mean, number one, he
you know why the
completely
league
shifted.
is divided, Greg?
No,
you know why,
because
let me explain.
he completely shifted
Greg, you know
the
why
narrative.
the league is divided right now over this issue? Is because the players don't understand the business that they're in. They don't have a business approach. The customer is always right. Your decision should be based on the customer.
See, now I disagree with that.
No.
I don't think the customer is always right.
Whitlock is 1,000% right, guys. The ratings were going down, okay? The advertisers were spooked. The marketing companies were like, hey, if you guys cover the protests, we're out of here. The business, as he's saying, was going down. They had no choice but to listen to the guys who were paying the customers.
They had a choice. They had a choice, but they decided to give in to what Trump's narrative.
What was the alternative, Greg?
Number one, tell Trump to tell
the fans, tell your customer base, we don't care what you have to say.
No. Explain to take your guy's side, your players' side, and say, look, we're supporting the players, because if Trump then says, look, these players are standing for what they believe, I don't agree with the way they're approaching it, then it would have been different. But for Trump to just simply say they're attacking our flag, our anthem, and all these soldiers.
That's the way fans felt.
Fans felt. It's the way they
remember.
It's the way the fans felt. But had Trump come out and said something different in support of the league, then it would have been, the whole narrative would have been shifted.
But I mean, let me agree with Greg on this. Here's the thing. This is what the NFL struggles with that the NBA doesn't. Players in the NBA.
Why did you just poking me with that? Go ahead. The NBA is
You've been poking me on that Belichick story So the NBA players, the employees, feel like the owners mostly have our back. What this signals to Greg's point is, listen, not only do we care more about what the president says?
Thank you.
But we're worried about what a guy in Sheboygan out in the parking lot 9 Schlitz beers in before the game thinks. Those are the athletes.
If the beer
you need talent.
fans...
I need Greg Jennings in my league.
No, I need fans.
No, there's always a line of fans. How many great players are there?
I'm not taking fans for granted.
I'm not either, but they're not always right. They booed Donovan McNabb getting drafted in Philadelphia.
So what? They're the fans. They get to do that. They spend the money on the jerseys. They watch the games.
I
They buy
like
the
the
overpriced tickets.
Jason.
The $12 beers.
Who
do you think we answer to right here?
Jason.
Our bosses.
The fans.
They dictate the topics.
No, you know who runs our business? Subway sandwiches, advertisers. That's who runs our business.
Advertisers also spoke on the anthem deal as well.
Now, that's a better argument, but you have to have the players.
You got to have fans, Colin. And
Would fans go and sit and watch grass?
You're telling me as a business owner, the wine store, whatever you own, the liquor store, whatever, the customers, that's not who you're most worried about?
The customer's not
or
always
worried
right.
About
if
your
somebody
employee,
walked
the guy
into
running
my,
the cash
if a customer walked into my wine store and was abusive to other customers, he's out of the store. My wine's number one. I can't have crappy wine.
Well, what if someone is spoiling the wine because the fans aren't coming in and destroying the NFL product?
That's what President Trump did. He spoiled everything by shifting the narrative and then turning. And he did not. Did he not shift the narrative?
It was going on the year before, Greg.
Did he not? But it wasn't. If he would have came out and said the players' focus is on social justice injustices, then that would have been what everybody focused on. But he shifted it and made it seem like
he was silent on the issue for a year.
Greg, you know how the media operates. All they showed was players kneeling during the anthem.
Absolutely.
What do the fans say? Oh my gosh, they're doing that so disrespectful.
So
they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear about the details.
So what you're telling me is if President Trump gets up and is in support of the social injustices, this is why we have the issues now. Because our president feels one way and he can dictate and say whatever he wants and do whatever he wants.
Greg, just understand this. The injustices that everyone's talking about, there's not universal agreement on those injustices. So there's two sides.
There will never be universal
I understand
agreement.
that. So there were people that say, oh my God, what happened to Michael Brown? Worst thing in the world. There were people on the other side that was like, no. He put his hand on a policeman's gun. We got video of him in a convenience store beforehand. There are people that don't think that was a total injustice. There are people that do. Donald Trump is supporting law enforcement. He's taken that side. And there's a lot of Americans that have taken that side and believe that police killing unarmed black men story is told completely out of context. And so it's not as easy as just, well, Donald Trump should have sided with this and the players, because there's a whole big segment of America that would have disagreed with him, and it's not authentic to what President Trump believes.
Forget Donald Trump siding with the players. Let's throw that out. The owners. You have to support your guy. Even if you end up eventually siding with President Trump.
Yeah.
Show some sign of report of
They
support.
have that $100 million. That $100 million to the Players Coalition, that's not a sign of support?
I'm gonna tell you what that is. That's here so you guys can just shut up.
Greg,
Yeah, a lot of
come and
players
go.
agree with
Fans are forever. Players come and go. Rotating door every year, new players. Fans stick around forever.
I would argue there's a huge pool of fans. There's not a huge pool of great football or basketball players. It's very small.
This time of year brings us two things: graduations and Father's Day, and the gifts that go along with them. Before you buy Dad another tie or that grad a balloon that will probably float away, ask yourself this: does my dad or grad like wings or sports, or better yet, both? If the answer is yes, then get them a Buffalo Wild Wings gift card. Right now, if you purchase $30 worth or more in-store or online, they'll give you a $5 bonus to keep for yourself. That's a gift that gives back. How generous of you. Buffalo Wild Wings, wings, beer, sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, Dante Jones, Chris Broussard are back. Let's move to the association. The finals. Warriors got some bad news officially announcing Andre Iguodala will miss one of the NBA Finals games. Fifth straight game he's missed with a bone bruise. Iguodala won a Finals MVP back in 2015, largely for the job he did on LeBron, although that's a little overstated. LeBron still went crazy. Whitlock, will Iggy's absence have an impact on Game 1?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They are not as smart of a team without Iguodala. Why do you think they had problems with Houston? Their IQ drops considerably. And then it puts more stress on the one player who can't handle more stress, and that's Kevin Durant, whose personality's been leaking oil all season. Not having Iguodala is going to turn LeBron James completely loose on Kevin Durant, both ends of the court, and Kevin Durant will crack.
If this is true, if you're right, this is the weakest dynasty ever.
Thank you.
Can you imagine?
says it's
Can
not?
you imagine? Ron Harper's out. Michael can't beat the Jazz. Ron Harper's out. Are you
You
kidding
think
me?
it wouldn't have had an impact on Ron
Really?
Harper?
You gonna disrespect Ron Harper like that?
That was a three-headed defensive monster.
Thank you.
Rodman, Jordan,
play that.
Bill Jackson, Pippen, Kerr, Horace Grant.
But Ron played a part in
A big part.
making how that works. They are, as I said before, they are like the Avengers. They are all special in one capacity, but they work well together as a unit, and that's the best part about them. They're a team. I have respect for them because they're a team and they work well together. But Andre is a big part of that team. You lose one defender, you lose toughness, you lose an IQ, you lose a person that makes plays when things go wrong. He's always there for the big rebound, the big putback, energy plays. Like Andre was big for them when they guard LeBron because he starts out LeBron. It's never KD versus LeBron. KD doesn't take on the whole challenge. It's KD, then comes Andre, Sean Livingston might get some, Clay might get some, and they rotate to wear the man down and make him do different things on the defense and also.
If that's true,
But
I
you
think
lose
KD.
one defender. What makes them special, they have multiple defenders.
So now they win by 24 instead of 34. I mean, come on, look, I get what you guys are saying. Andre Iguodala is a great role player. He's important to that team. They're not as good without him. But please, are we really going to feel sorry for this team? How many Hall of Famers they still got? 4.
First of
How
all,
many LeBron got?
He's not just a role player.
let me
He's
just throw
a
in
role
one
player
jab.
He's
for
a role
them to
player.
make them better.
Okay.
That's a big difference in being a role player. I'm a role player. I'm
but
not
right
Andre
now,
Iguodala.
He's a role player. He's older in his career. He's not the Andre Iguodala he was in Philadelphia or even
He's a
Denver.
Finals MVP.
2 years ago.
But either or, he
I
played
think
his
that
role
one
the
hasn't
best
happened
way.
'cause it should have been Steph.
Chris. They just beat a team that missed 27 straight three-pointers by 9 points. Chris Paul didn't play. They missed 27 straight, 7 of 45 from three or
27
something like
straight.
that. Yeah, 27 straight, and only beat him by 9. But LeBron James is going to show up, no Iguodala, and nothing's going to happen.
Because it's just LeBron James. His second leading scorer is out too, Kevin Love. We'll see if he plays. And that second leading scorer only gave him 13 points a night.
And I think they are better suited now to play Golden State right now with Kevin Love not playing game one and possibly coming off the bench because he gives you a different dynamic coming off the bench. When we won games to beat them, K Love wasn't starting.
I agree with you.
And you had a more athletic unit out there, so then when you brought him in, he could attack the second units and he could play a role. He was in that series, he's not a role player, but in that series he was a role player. He did the dirty work, he rebounded, he had an effect on the game like Andre Iguodala did, and that made our team better. You can adjust your lineups to make people better. Andre Iguodala by no means is a role player. He just does things differently. Statistically, his impact doesn't show up. He makes the plays to make winning basketball happen. They struggle.
But they got Draymond too. Draymond does exactly what you're saying.
Draymond can't throw it in the ocean right now.
And Iguodala's a great shooter.
But he knocks shots down.
Man, look, this is finally, them getting a little bit of what they've been benefiting from. Because Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving were out in 2015. DeMarcus Cousins was out this year. Chris Paul was out for game 6 and 7. I am not in any way, shape, or form going to feel sorry at all for the Golden State
sorry for him.
Warriors.
No,
sorry.
I'm not giving them nothing.
You're telling me that this doesn't put more stress on Kevin Durant?
If you're going
How
to be the
about the
second
stress?
best basketball
Exactly.
player in the world, deal with it.
How about the stress
Good
on LeBron
Lord.
James?
You got a guard
and
now.
I look,
You got a
I
guard
James is
now.
built for stress. Kevin Durant isn't. That's the issue, and that's why this extra pressure on Durant will show up in this series without Iguodala.
Look, I get what you're saying, Dante, because they are built more to play against Golden State without Love. I would believe that if I could count on Jeff Green to give me the 19 points he gave me. But I can't count on any of them
What makes
to
them
do anything
special
other than
is that they
LeBron.
have multiple defenders, multiple long wing defenders. That's
Cleveland?
why Golden State. That's why Boston gave him give LeBron a tricky situation because they have multiple wing defenders that can come in and wear him down. They couldn't wear him down with theirs, but Golden State has better athletic long wing defenders. And now they don't have one of the possibly 3 to go against him. Now it's Draymond and KD's responsibility.
You know what this
and
sounds
I wouldn't leave it. I wouldn't leave it up to it.
State. This is just how great LeBron is.
Yes.
That literally we're talking about a guy that averaged 6 a game. If LeBron's not in this series, this doesn't mean anything.
He averaged 60. He got an MVP because he played well on the offensive end and helped
They
stop
were
LeBron.
guarding him,
By the
Dante.
way.
You know that.
By the way.
It's harder to knock shots down when somebody's not guarding
Andre
you, fellas.
Iguodala
It's a lot of pressure on those
Andre
shots.
Iguodala won an MVP in a finals by holding LeBron to 34.5 a game.
That's how great he is.
What happened?
Colin, Chris, who had the best plus minus in last year's NBA Finals? By a mile. Andre Iguodala.
Thank you.
But he doesn't matter. He doesn't matter.
on,
Just
okay,
last
hold
year,
on.
he had the best plus minus by 20 points over Draymond Green.
Just because he doesn't take
LeBron-
shots.
Okay, you're saying the main thing is that he's not going to be able to help out on LeBron. Okay, so say LeBron goes for 42 and a triple-double. So what? Because what's Kyle Korver going to do? What's J.R. Smith going to do? What's Jeff Green?
Oh,
It does.
if
They
we're-
are so outmanned, it doesn't even matter.
I'll give you this. They were a good playoff team until two things happened. Andre Iguodala came to their team and took a supporting role, and Draymond wasn't starting in the starting lineup.
And Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr coaching, but they took a turn defensively. They're elite defensively. That's what they hang their hat on. They're elite defensively. When Andre Iguodala got on the team and said, I'll do whatever it takes to win basketball games, and Draymond Green came in there. They weren't number one.
They're
They weren't
elite
number one.
defensively, right? Although Steph Curry is a below-average defender, and Kevin Durant for 6'11" can't protect the rim. Let's not make them the 95 Bulls defensively. They ain't that great defensively.
That sounds like an argument in favor of Andre Iguodala being important.
No, but don't tell me how great. In 50 years at a bar, we're going to be saying that was the best shooting team ever. Nobody's going to be saying, with Iguodala, that was the best defensive team ever.
Because we only speak about the things that go on the board. We only speak about points. They're great scoring, but they're great defensively too. When they win it,
if
they're
they
great.
lose game one, we'll be talking about Iggy's impact.
In the pecking order, what is his importance to the Golden State Warriors?
Fifth.
Okay. So we're talking about them losing the fifth most important player on their team. LeBron James lost the second most important player on his team, Kevin Love.
That's like going to a steakhouse and saying, it was a great night. I didn't like the bread.
Yes, thank you.
It's still is
For this matchup, he's
No,
important.
the bread, you can get a good steak anywhere. Bread, on the other hand, not all restaurants are good with that. And look, Capital Grill, I love it. They got great calamari.
How come we made a bet? We didn't make it to go to Panera Bread. We're going to a steakhouse.
That has excellent bread.
Come on.
Welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to Kobe Bryant, whose busy retirement doesn't appear to be slowing down, with Kobe announcing he's got a new book coming out this fall entitled The Mamba Mentality, How I Play. Cowherd, you going to read Kobe's new book?
Depends on what's in it. If it's a self-help book, not interested. But if he delves deep into real struggles, certain players can go really authentic, then I think it'd be fascinating. But if he just says, here's how to be good, learn how to hit a fall away, I'm not interested.
You don't need any Mamba mentality in your life? Ann wouldn't appreciate that. You bring a little Mamba mentality.
What do you mean by that?
I don't know.
I don't even know what Mamba mentality is.
And that's why you should read the book, so you can learn what a Mamba mentality. The best. He's the best. He's the greatest Jordan imitator we've ever seen. All right, to Philadelphia, where Bryan Colangelo isn't the only Sixer breaking news today, with Page Six reporting that Ben Simmons has been dating Kendall Jenner for the last few weeks. Cowherd, do you think this will last?
What, till June? I mean, what do you mean? Like last, like how long?
They could be married. Ben Simmons and Kendall Jenner, why not? Why not?
They're going to be married?
She's had plenty of practice dating NBA players. Practice makes perfect.
I'm going to tell you something. This concerns me more than Joel Embiid's injuries and Bryan Colangelo's tweets. This scares me.
Why?
I want
Kendall
my
Jenner.
players focused. I want them focused.
He's found a wonderful young lady who has, had plenty of practice dating NBA players. Her family knows how to do it. This is a wonderful couple.
Forever.